Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reads video. This is for week number 42 and it's October the 17th through the 23rd. So this was a 4-book reading week for me this week. Very happy with that. I always say this, I don't think this is going to be a long video, but I legitimately don't feel like this is going to be a long video. I don't have a ton to share with you. I mean, I have the 4 books that I finished. 2 of them were great, 2 of them not so much. And so it was a good balance this week for sure. And then I've got 2 books that I'm currently reading, but I don't have any crafty stuff to show you because it's been a pretty busy week. So I have gotten some crafting done at night, but nothing that's, worth writing home about essentially. And I don't have any like book haul or anything at all like that. I will have a book haul coming. That stack right there are books I've received in the last week in the mail. Now, don't be like, oh my gosh, look at all the books you bought. No. Some of those are from publishers, and because I'm now on a certain publisher's mailing list, and it's not Harlequin, it's Kensington, and I am all for it. And the other ones, most of the other ones are ones that I'm using my Harlequin rewards points to purchase because the point system is going away at the end of December and I want to try and use up my points. So I'm going to be buying some books next month and in December as well, like buying them in air quotes, like using my points. So there'll be book hauls coming essentially. So that is really pretty much all that I'm going to have to share with you today, you guys. But let's jump into what I finished reading this week. So the first book that I finished this week was it's a toss-up. Like the two of the books that I finished this week are my top 2 books of the month. And we have In the Company of Witches by Auralee, Wallace. And this is a cozy mystery series. It is book number 1 in the Evenfall Witches B&B series. It takes place in Connecticut. Is it Connecticut? I think it's New England. And it takes place... Is it Halloween? I don't think it does take place at Halloween. No, it doesn't. But... regardless, this was a really great book. So our main character's name is Bryn, and when she was younger, her mom and dad were killed in a car accident, along with her uncle's fiance. And her 2 aunts and the uncle are all raising her. They're siblings, like the 2 aunts and the uncle. They're all siblings to each other. So they have all raised her in this old Victorian home that is a bed and breakfast. They are, of course, witches. And very, very reminiscent of the aunts in Practical Magic. I just feel like that's now like an archetype, if you will, that those 2 characters are so synonymous with these like crazy, eclectic, witch aunts that, they just seem to pop up everywhere. Like when I say that, that's what it reminds me of, is because I think a lot of authors are drawing inspiration from them because they are such iconic characters. The ones in the movies, not the witches, or not the characters from the book Practical Magic, because that's a completely different ballgame. There were no midnight margaritas in the book Practical Magic, and I was sorely disappointed in that. But that being said, like, for example, Julianne Lindsay, in her, or as writing Asbury Baker, for the Sun, Sand, and Tea, the tea shop mystery series that she does, or did, because it's now finished. There are 2 aunts in those books as well. And even though they aren't witchy per se, I still very much get the vibes of the aunts from Practical Magic and, with this book as well. But this one, they are, in fact, witches. Bryn's grown up that way, and she was married, and her husband tragically died. I won't get into the whole bit about his death because it gets played out in the book. Like you find out more as you read the book and how she's dealing with it and how she hasn't really dealt with it. And how she kind of tucked her magic away because her magic couldn't help him or help her when he was dying, essentially. So it was very, very heart-wrenching, I found. So the premise of the book is that there is a woman who's staying at the bed and breakfast. She's an older lady who's not very well liked, and she drops dead at the B&B, and one of the aunts is accused of her murder. Now, the townsfolk don't know that they're witches. They suspect something isn't quite right, but as for witches per se, that's not, they don't think that they're witches, essentially. But yeah, it was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed this one. I loved it. It was perfect for this time of year. It had a great spooky atmosphere, along with a lot of like funny bits as well. I love the Uncle Gideon. He was a delight too in the book, and there's this crow by the name of Dog. The crow's name is dog, and, you know, whatever. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I highly, highly recommend it. I know most of the people who are reading this one this month or recently really enjoyed it. There are a handful of people that yesterday when we were doing the live show over on Tiffany's channel, the Beach Bum Bookworm, pointed out that they didn't love this one. And that's been a rare thing that I've heard. So if you love cozy mysteries, if you love witchy cozy mysteries, definitely check this one out. The next one that I finished was Capturing the CEO's Guarded Heart by Rebecca Winters. This is the first book in the Sons of Parisian Dynasty series. It is Harlequin Romance number 4823. It came out in October of 2022. And I gave this one 2.5 stars. Unfortunately, another Harlequin that I didn't absolutely love. And that's 2 in a row. That's making me a little bit disappointed. I just happen to pick up some duds. That's all there is to it. I do like this author a lot. This one just didn't work for me. So this is the story of Annalise and Nick. And the series follows Nick and his brothers. So he's a set of triplets. So my assumption is there's going to be 3 books. I will probably at some point read the other books. But, it was just this story that I didn't love. I felt that, like, I mean, these books are shorter and you've got to kind of drive the plot relatively quickly. That's kind of the point of a category romance. They're quick reads. But this one, I just felt like there was just something missing. So essentially, both of them are from very well-to-do families. His family runs like this empire of all these different things, and one of the divisions is hotelier. So that's what the division that he works for. And she actually has been brought in to be a lawyer for this hotel division. So I read this just like a few days ago, and I'm already drawing a blank on a lot of the plot points that happen in this book. Needless to say, someone starts a rumor because they're both very wealthy and they both come from wealthy families, and a rumor is started that they're engaged to each other, which isn't true. They bring up the fact that her fiance died like a 1.5 years ago, and it hurt her, like, you know, very much because she's trying to deal with the grief, and if people keep bringing it up, it makes it more difficult to do. So they kind of hatch this plan that, hey, let's pretend we actually are engaged. So it kind of throws whoever started this rumor or this lie, it kind of throws them off in a way. So that's kind of the plot of the book. Did not love it. I think because so much of it was just the two of them like talking. There was a lot of there was a lot of tell and not enough show. If that makes sense. Like, it was just passages and passages of the two of them talking, and it's like, and it takes place in France and Paris. So you're getting a lot of like French words, and, you know, it just seemed like, and I know that these books are meant to be like wealthier, like the characters come from money. But every time you turn around, it was money, 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 money. Do you know what I mean? And it got to be a little much. So anyway, did not love this one, but I do really like this author. So if you haven't read this author, don't discount her off of this book. She's written some great books. And like I said, I will try the next one in the series because this one, it just could have been the characters for this one for me that I didn't absolutely love. The next book that I finished was another favorite, and that was Scritch, Scratch by Lindsay Currie. I gave this one 4.5 stars as well. I read this for Storm over at Storm Reads, her Halloween readathon that she's doing, which is encouraging people to read middle grade spooky fiction in the month of October. And this one was for the prompt, I Ain't Afraid of No Ghost. So this one I really, really liked. So it's about a little girl by the name of Claire. I shouldn't say little girl, she's 12. And she is a little bit embarrassed by her family, like most 12-year-olds are, I'm sure. And her dad is a ghost hunter. Not a ghost hunter per se, where he like goes out with like equipment to like haunted houses, but he writes books and he does a tour in Chicago. The book takes place in Chicago on ghosts. And she's embarrassed by that because she's a scientist and she's like, ghosts aren't real. They don't exist. I am a scientist, you know, blah, blah, blah. And at the beginning of the book, the guy who drives the bus for this bus tour that the dad does is sick. So he asks Claire to jump in for him, that he will drive the bus and do most of the tour, but he needs her as like his helper, like take the tickets and make sure people are staying together and, you know, things like that. So she very reluctantly agrees to do it because she doesn't want to be caught dead. Like, she's afraid of being made fun of at school if people see her, you know, doing this and like, oh, her father's so embarrassing, which is, I think is something that all people of that age can attest to with their parents. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're saying or doing that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my parents are so dorky or so whatever. And I kind of really liked that aspect of it. I thought it was funny and very, very relatable. So anyway, she goes on this tour, and then towards the end of it, this little boy appears on the bus, and he wasn't on the bus originally, and he is clearly a ghost. So the story follows from there. This gets very creepy, you guys. For a middle grade book, this gets very, like, hairs on the back of your neck standing up as I was reading it. Like, this is, like, just a little creepy. And again, I am a wimp though, so I don't watch a lot of scary horror movies. So those of you who read a lot of horror novels will be like, this is like the most tame thing ever. But for me, it was creepy. So Claire's got this ghost that's haunting her now, and she's trying to find out where he came from and what the situation is and how she can help him. So she enlists the help of her brother and her best friend. So it's a great little group dynamic there that you have. And what I really liked, without giving too much away, is that they didn't discount the ghost at the end of the book as being, oh, it was a figment of her imagination. The ghost was real. Like, does that make sense? Like, she was really being haunted. Like, and I think that added to the creepiness of it, because sometimes you'll finish these kind of books and it's like, oh, and it was like all in her imagination, or it was all blah, blah, blah. But no, like, this was, you know. The other thing that I loved, and it's just so funny the way that this worked out, it's almost like one of those, like, okay, is the universe trying to tell me something? Do I need to research more on this? That with, again, I don't want to give too much away, but the ghost haunting is a real person. Like, in history, this was a real person who was haunting her. I don't want to say who it is or what have you, because that's revealed as you read the book. But because I had just watched a video a week or so ago about this whole thing, I knew halfway through the book, I'm like, oh, that's what it is. So I am a big fan of Caitlin Doughty. She does the Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, Tales from the Crematory, and last year I read Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by her, which was a middle grade book about death, which I thought was hilarious. Hilarious and creepy at the same time. But she's a delight, and she has a YouTube channel that I've watched a bunch of her stuff. Well, she did a video a couple weeks ago about the Eastland disaster in Chicago, and it was about a boat that sank in the river in Chicago. Like, it didn't go, and it was like docked, but it tipped completely to the side and sank, and like 800 people died or something like that. In 20 feet of water in this river area. And this happened a year or two after the Titanic sank, but it has never gotten, like, Titanic is like Titanic. Everybody knows about the Titanic and blah, blah, blah. But for loss of life, for loss of civilian life, the Eastland disaster was actually higher. So a lot of the people who died on the Titanic were also crew. So yes, the number of people who died on Titanic was a lot higher than Eastland, but a lot of those were crew, whereas this was mostly civilians. And I'm going to link Caitlin's video below because it was fascinating. If you're into that kind of thing, that kind of history, give it a watch and check it out. I really found it fascinating. So I had literally watched this 2 weeks ago, and then I read this book and I went, that's what it's from. Like, again, I don't want to give too much away, but it does deal with the Eastland disaster. And I really loved the author weaving that history into it, because this is forgotten history. Even people in Chicago don't know that this happened, and it wasn't that long ago, 100 plus years ago maybe, and it was a huge deal. So anyway, do yourselves a favor and read this book. If you are a middle grade reader, this one was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading more books by Lindsay Currie. And then the last book that I finished this week was Brooke by V.C. Andrews, which is the third book in the Runaways series. I didn't love this one. 3 stars. I don't have much to say on these ones. There's the back cover. This one reminded me very much of the first book, and me and Jessica, who are reading these books together, we said the same thing, that this one kind of really reminded us of book 1, wherein in this one, this little girl, her name is Brooke, is adopted by this family, and the mother, the adopted mother, is like this former, like, Miss America. She participated in Miss America. The father's very wealthy. Like, he's a lawyer, makes a ton of money. And the mother's trying to mold her into a beauty queen, essentially. But Brooke wants to play sports. Brooke wants to play baseball. And so, yeah, it felt very similar to book number 1, because book number 1 was about a little girl who the mother adopted her to turn her into a ballerina. So essentially, this woman adopted her to turn her into a beauty queen. So again, rehashing the first plot, but you know, I didn't hate it. It was a very, very quick read, but yeah, I am looking forward to getting to the 4th book, hopefully this week. And then I have the bind up, or the 5th book, to read in the month of November. That's my plan anyway. So yeah, so didn't love it, 3 stars, but I mean, it was a read. So that's it, guys. That's been my reading week. It's been busy, but I'm still really happy. I mean, 2 of those books were 4.5-star reads, which is fantastic. So I was really, really happy with that. So what am I currently reading, my friends? I am currently reading The Hacienda by Isabel Canis. I'm saying her name wrong. I know I am. But I am not quite halfway through this one yet. I am reading it on hardcover, and I'm really enjoying that. If you watch my Friday reads, I will have mentioned this book. So this is seriously creepy. Seriously creepy. Like, I can't get into it right now, but this is yikes. Like, for me, I wasn't able to read this one at night. Like, I had to pick up something else because, yeah, this was creeping me out. So yeah, I am really, really enjoying it though, and I'm super glad I have it on hardcover. And then yesterday I went to the library, so you guys are going to see it Tuesday. I'm going to have a library book haul. And I'm really excited about that. But I decided to pick up one of the books yesterday because I needed something a little less creepy than The Hacienda. So I am so excited about this, guys. This is a Mills and Boon edition, large print, hardcover. Found this at my library. Is this like a library only copy? I don't know. But this is Decoy Training by Currie Panino. They covered the author's name, but there it is right there. And yeah, I am enjoying this so far. I am 60 pages in. That's the beauty with like these super large print books. They read very quickly. So yeah, I'm 60 pages in. You know, I am enjoying this one. So it's about a guy by the name of Shane who, he is a former Marine and he has returned to, it says, peaceful Idaho mountains is where it takes place. So he is like there, he has this dog. The dog's name is Decoy, and it's a dog that he adopted in a way in Afghanistan. Like, this dog kind of started hanging around the base, and he started feeding it, and so did the other soldiers. And then when he was discharged because he was injured, he worked through the red tape to bring the dog back to the US. And he's now working with the dog to turn him into like a search and rescue dog. Like, so the dog's kind of gonna help other people, because when he was injured, the dog found him and kind of dragged him out. So anyway, he meets a woman by the name of Piper. Is her name? Yeah, her name's Piper. And she trains dogs, so that's how they meet. But something is going on with her. She's being stalked, it seems like. So this is the first book in a series. I did have this one actually from NetGalley, so I'm super stoked. I just happened to see it sitting there at the library, and I went, yoink! I mainly want to, well, I wanted to read it because it sounds like a really interesting story. This is, in the UK, this is a heroes novel, right? But here in North America, under the Harlequin banner, this would be an intrigue novel. The interior parts of this book, like the book itself, is exactly the same. It's the way it's labeled. That's the only difference. But what really drew me in, not only was the story, but was the fact that it was in this edition that I have never seen before. And I am so stoked. I want to own copies of these for my shelves, but I think that they might be library-only editions. I don't know. So anyway, so that is what I am currently reading, my friends. That's it. 20 minutes. Less than 20 minutes and we've done this video. So yeah, it's a shorter one this week. Like I said, I don't have a lot of extra things to share with you, but do let me know in the comments below, what have you guys been reading this week? Have you read anything that you loved? Anything you didn't love so much? Have you read any of the books that I talked about? What did you think about them? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.